said, "What are you doing?" I said, so I had it. Long story short, I got it all together. I didn't have nothing extra. Got it all put back together. And I told her the next day, I said, I just wanted to prove that the old guy could still do it. I got it together. And there's even a few folks that bragged on it, says it looks real good. But when it comes to building, I couldn't build a doghouse for a chihuahua. Okay? And it hold up. I couldn't do it. I just have no skills whatsoever. I'm a good fetcher. I can hammer a little bit. I can measure a little bit. But I have no skills. Guys like that just amaze me. I watched them Jack Baker, and I tell you, he just get out the way. That's what Cracker Jack is. He just says, the way it is. And if you're not ready to work, he'll say, bystanders, onlookers, lollygaggers are welcome to leave. That's just the way it is. But they're amazing. They know what to do. And they could build something with a solid foundation and it would stand. Mine with the first wind and it'd go. But when Jesus talks about these people who hear his sayings and comes to him and hears the word, they're like the guy who builds on solid rock and they've got a foundation that will stand when the flood comes, when the tide comes, when the wind comes. It will stand through all of that. My little house that I would build with my two hands and I'd be like one of the pigs. I'd probably be the guy that built his out of sticks. The wolf blew it down. But he talks about this. He says, I'll show you those that come to me and hear my sayings and do them. Does them. Obedience. What is the key requirement of Christian discipleship? Obedience. Oh, preacher, you're getting kind of touchy there. Obedient. Yeah, it's more than just nodding your head and saying, that's right, preacher. It's by doing, hearing and doing. Hearing and applying it and doing it. That's what it's about. All the talk and good intentions, they're no substitute for obedience. Not a substitute for obedience. There is no way. Jesus continues in verses 48 and 49. He gives us a real dramatic here illustration. A solid foundation, laying a good foundation. It determines how the house, how well built it is. I can remember we bought a house up in Highland Park back in 1990. And I had to have a guy come and inspect the house. You know how they go through all that stuff when you get the loan. They got to check it all out and all that stuff. And I had a fella come, and I'll never forget, I was just so tickled to death. He crawled under my house I was buying, and all of a sudden he come in, he said, buddy, I'll tell you what, that's a well-built house. Whoever built that, they really knew what they was doing. It was solid, everything was right. Got good plumbing in it, the foundation, the block work, the brick, everything. I said, that's a good house. And I said, I'm thankful for that. I didn't get some butts flying through some night, just threw one up. But it's how well built it is determines how it will stand. The foundation, that's where you start with. And if you don't get it right, guess what? Everything that goes from that is what? A mess. If it don't start out square, guess what? You got a problem. If it's not solid, guess what? You got a problem. You got a problem. I remember the first time I ever tried to tile a floor. Oh, my Lord. What was I thinking? I couldn't walk for 2 weeks for one thing. I was like killing. And I somehow managed to hide some of the mess up in the corner someplace, and I don't know how it somehow turned out. It didn't look too awful bad. My wife said, that don't look too bad. Too bad. She didn't tell me the whole truth. She didn't want to hurt my feelings too much because I was wore out. She knew I tried to really hard. She said, it doesn't look too bad. Your spiritual foundation, it determines how you will stand. Are you square? Are you solid? Are you on solid rock on the ground? I tell you what, you build your stuff where it's going to shift, and I tell you what, you find that somewhere down the road, you find right there and you start finding blocks that's got breaks in it. This is shifted, this is moved, and walls have moved, and this ain't square no more. And you find that real quick. Oh my goodness, I've got a problem. I've got a problem. I'll never forget. One time years ago, I helped my brother-in-law roof a house. First house I'd ever. And he took me to Norwood, Ohio. Anybody been to Norwood, Ohio? And all those houses are like. And I got there and I was like, I got to get on there. He said, yeah, there won't be no problem. I said, I don't do that. And we had them old slate shingles. Had to tear them things off, and I think they dropped them over on some Mayflower or something. Well, I learned how to shingle a roof somehow. Got that on there, but my brother-in-law was telling me, he said, hey, I'll drive you by this house over here, right a couple streets over here. So when these guys shingled, and they put the shingles on upside down. I said, what? He said, yeah, come over here. He said, let me show you. Sure enough, they put the shingles on the wrong way. They left them on. I said, that would have been what I'd have done. Made a mess. But spiritually, if you don't have a solid foundation and you don't get squared up and solid, you will have problems when the storm comes. And Jesus said, why don't you do what I say? There's some keys to your spiritual foundation. Holiness in your life. I ain't talking about name over the building. I'm talking about a holy walk in your spiritual life with Jesus. A holy relationship with Him. Ain't got nothing to do with the name. Ain't got nothing to do with the look. It's about your relationship with God. A holiness walk. Every day reading of God's Word. How many folks, if no other thing, you get on the internet every day and read some devotion that we put on there? Read something every day. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your spiritual foundation. Praying. We were talking yesterday when some of us went up to Corbin, pigged out, and we was talking about praying. Some of them was talking about going to sleep, and the last thing they remembered they were doing was praying. Said, I was praying, next thing I know, I was asleep. How many know what I'm talking about? I find myself, I'll start praying, and the next thing I know, I'm asleep. I wake up, I start praying again. I get an opportunity in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I pray a few things after my trip to the bathroom. Some of you laugh, you know what I'm talking about. Brother, it's more than a morning trip. It's several trips. But that's an opportunity to pray. That's part of your spiritual foundation, being solid in that you pray. Well, preacher, I try to pray at least a couple times a week. How about a couple times every 2 or 3 hours? Well, preacher, I ain't talking about just full-fledged jumping down on your knees. There's times going down the road. I drive and I pray. I mow the grass and I pray. I ride the motorcycle and I pray. I sing. I go to school. I pray a lot at school.
That's right.
Some of the classes I'm in, I pray a lot. Fellowship with the body. Fellowship with godly people. Isn't it amazing when you get around folks in the same mind, the same accord, the same thought process, how that feeds your spiritual foundation? I tell you what, I just love coming over here just hanging out with everybody. I like coming to church because it's positive. It's therapy for me. Gets my mind off of everything that's going on, my troubles, my trials, my job, my bills, everything. I don't think none of that when I come to church. That feeds my spiritual foundation. And by winning the lost, by simple witnessing, folks. Let me tell you what, it's amazing the opportunities that you get. And it absolutely feeds your soul when you're able to witness to somebody. I've heard people say, well, preacher, I've never led nobody to the Lord. How do you know? I'm not talking if you just prayed with them, but there might have been something you said along the way. Somehow you sowed a seed that somewhere down the road, somebody remembered that. And they heard just a little bit, and that come to them. Oh, I remember when they were talking to me about Jesus. Man, that makes your foundation strong. When you witness, you're able to witness to people. You're able to tell somebody about Jesus. Those foundations that build you. And Jesus says when you come to Him, you hear His sayings and you do these things, this is what you're like. You're like the guy that built his house on the rock. And it's solid when the storm comes. That when the rain and the wind and everything blows your way, you're able to stand.